G'day, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Harry. As usual, we're out here in the doghouse. Today, we're continuing our look at the Cooper's DIY beer kit series. Last time, we got the brew fermenting, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up here somewhere. Now it's bottling day, and you need to catch up on the last 7 days, so we'll do that firstly. I'll also share my thoughts on the gear included in the kit, and through the magic of YouTube, we'll try out our first batch. Stick around and let's see if this kit's worth your time or if it's better left on the shelf at Big W.
Much later.
Morning, it's day 6, so we're out in the doghouse and we're taking a gravity reading with the Cooper's hydrometer. I can see there that it's sitting at 1.002. Now, just out of curiosity, I wanted to see how accurate these plastic hydrometers are. So we're going to use an actual laboratory grade hydrometer and see how it goes. And without. I don't know whether this will show up, but you can see those bubbles there. That's going to affect our hydrometer reading. So I'll give this a quick spin and see if we can get it to agree with the Cooper's or whether the Cooper's plastic hydrometer's out. No, that is definitely 7 points out.
The next day.
Morning guys, day 7. You know the drill by now. We're going to take a gravity reading. So you can see that sample's really gassy. And we're not going to be able to get an accurate reading on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to tip it into a bottle and shake it like a Polaroid picture. A bit of a spin. Same as yesterday, that's sitting at 1002. And our lab grade hydrometer is still sitting at 1.07. So we're good to bottle. So we've done our gravity readings. This is ready to go. It's sitting at our final gravity of 1002 or 1007 if you're depending on which hydrometer you want to believe. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our sample and have a taste to make sure it's not gone funky. That's not too bad at all. I'll show you what I've got set up. So we've got our fermenter, the bulk of our bottles. I've got 5 litres of water and 7.5 mils of phosphoric based sanitizer. And moving down, you can see I've got 2 buckets, one with bottles upside down in it and an empty bucket at the moment we're going to tip our sanitizer into. So for today's bottling, I'm only going to be using items that came in the DIY beer kit, to be fair, on the kit itself, with the addition of just a couple of buckets which I showed you before, as well as some sanitizer and cleaner. I've already made a bottling video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link up here somewhere. So into our empty bucket, we're going to put 7.5 mils of phosphoric based sanitizer, as well as dump in our 5 litres of clean water. And into that, we're just going to start transferring bottles. This is going to be a long process. Last one. Righto, now that we're done with the sanitizer, keep it because we'll use it later on. We're now going to grab our 5 litre jug and fill that up full of sanitizer. good to go. Now, into our jug of sanitizer, we're going to put our bottling wand. Okay, and for the purposes of this, we're going to break it down to make sure that we get sanitizer everywhere. Same on the end of that tube. We're also going to rip open our packet of caps and dump them in the sanitizer. Get in there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to kick a bucket underneath the tap. Give that tap a bit of a squirt with some Star's Hand, some sanitizer, and attach our bottling wand. It just fits up on the inside of the tap there. All right, we should be good to go to start filling our bottles. To do that, we're going to grab our first bottle, come up underneath the bottling wand, turn the tap on, and push up. Okay, that's our first bottle. We'll turn the tap off. You can see these like to drip because they don't seal properly. And under with our next bottle. And just continue that process until all your bottles are full. So that's our 30 bottles all filled up. We'll now move on to putting the carbonation drops in. Now, you know what they say, no glove, no love. Let's get into it. So we're going to grab our scissors and open up our carbonation drops. And then simply add 2 to each of the bottles. Now, I like to do mine on a tea towel because it helps catch all the condensation and if anything runs down the outside of your bottles. Shout out to Mum for the tea towel. Jackie, if you're watching this, this isn't one of yours. I found this, it was hanging on a line outside. All right, on with the caps. What we're going to do is screw down our caps, push down and screw down. And then with a clean microfiber towel, we're going to really crank down on them. That's that one done. And we just simply repeat the process all along. Now that you've got your beer bottled, let's figure out the alcohol by volume. So grab your butcher's paper and a bit of a marker, and here's the simple formula. It's OG minus FG, which is your final gravity, and we times that by 131.25. All right, so our original gravity was 1.037, and our final gravity was 1.002. So that minus that, that'll give us a total of 0.035. And if we go 0.035 by 131.25. Okay, that gives us 4.59. Or close enough to 4.5. Not too bad for a home brew. Now that all our bottles are filled, all that we've got to do is clean our fermenter, and I'll do that off camera. I'll see you in a sec and we'll talk about the gear. Let's talk gear. I'm ready to give you my final honest thoughts on everything that comes with the kit. First up, the fermenter. The good. It's made of thick, durable plastic, and the handles are well designed and they're not sharp. They're easy to grip, even with wet hands. But here's what I don't like. There's no airlock. And while that's fine for basic brewing, it's a risk if you plan to cold crash, as the shrinking air inside can cause suckback. Let's talk about cold crashing. It's a technique where you quickly chill your fermenter down to near freezing temperatures, usually around about that 1 to 2 degrees Celsius for a couple of days. Now, why the hell would we want to do that? Well, it helps clear up your beer, and things like yeast and protein and hop bits that are floating around will settle to the bottom of the fermenter faster, making your beer look cleaner and taste even smoother. Think of it like giving your beer a quick polish. But here's the catch. Cold crashing can cause something called suckback, especially with fermenters like this one that don't have an airlock or a proper system to handle the pressure changes. Let's dive down and I'll show you what happens. So look, we've got our fermenter. For instance, we've got 23 litres of beer and 7 litres of headspace. Now that's filled up with air. Now here's what happens when you cool your fermenter down. You're not just chilling your beer, you're also cooling the air that's sitting above it in the headspace. Air shrinks when it gets cold, and let's just say you've brewed 23 litres of beer in this 30 litre fermenter, so you've got about 7 litres of air sitting above the beer. At room temperature, say it's 20 degrees, or I wish out here in North Queensland, that air's at a normal volume. But when you chill the fermenter down to say 1 degree, the air will shrink by about 0.38% for every degree Celsius. And that sounds like nothing until you realise that this air in here, now that shrinks by 6.5%, or around about 450 millilitres. Now that shrinking creates a vacuum inside the fermenter, and just like when you suck on a straw, the fermenter will pull whatever it can to fill in that space. So in through where our CO2 escapes, we can get air moving back into the fermenter. So you're probably asking yourself, why is that a problem? Well, oxygen at this stage is bad news. It can make your beer taste like stale, wet cardboard or paper. Definitely not what we're aiming for. This is one of the reasons I'm not a fan of this fermenter's design. It works fine for normal fermentation, but if you want a cold crash, you're taking a massive risk. You need to get creative with a blow-off tube or something similar to avoid the problem, but even then, it's not ideal. Then there's the tap. It's non-standard and it relies on a fragile plastic tang to stay in place. If that tang breaks, then it's only held on by 2 O-rings. Now that's not ideal. Plus, the taps are prone to being knocked around. The hydrometer. The hydrometer itself is good in thought, but its execution missed the mark. It's not sealed properly at the top, and if you drop it into a bucket of sanitizer, liquid can get inside there, and if that happens, well then it's game over. Mine is actually 7 gravity points out, and that can cause issues with your ABV calculations. That being said, plastic is more robust than glass, but it's not much good if it's not accurate. I'm pretty disappointed, to be honest. It could have been much, much better. The plastic hydrometer sample tube is the next thing we'll cover. The sample tube is press fit based. It's not glued, meaning the bottom could fall out at the worst possible time, making you literally look like the kids whose arse fell out of their show bag. Look, it's a decent concept, but again, questionable manufacturing. On a plus side, it's plastic and it's easy to see through. The bottling wand. It does the job, but it's not spring loaded. It leaks, and I'd recommend upgrading to a spring loaded wand for a better seal and less hassle. Lastly, plastic bottles. Look, PET bottles are not my favourite, But I'll give them this, they're practical for beginners, they're durable, they're less prone to breakage, and you don't need a bench capper. For a starter kit, they're a reasonable inclusion. I'll give you my overall thoughts after we, through the magic of YouTube, crack open one of these bottles in the future and see if it's a winner or if it tastes like it's been strained through a homeless guy's undies. So, cue the slow-mo and the bad 80s porn music and let's dive in and have a beer. So the beer itself, well, it's not too bad. It's a beautiful, bright amber colour. Pours a golden yellow. I know it's hard to see in this light. Nothing much on the nose. It's got a decent clarity. Look, it's reasonably clear. The foam stability could be better. There's no real detectable hop aromas on the nose, which makes it a bit plain in that department. Taste-wise, it's bitter and it's pretty boring if I'm quite honest. It's drinkable, it's definitely passable for a first attempt, but it lacks any character or anything that really stands out. Overall, it's a fair effort and a decent starting point for anyone who's new to brewing. I guess what could make this better would be the addition of hops like Sars maybe, or Hallertauer, Tettnang, Spelt or Pearl. Those are classic lager choices and they're really good because of their smooth bitterness and their floral, herbal, slightly earthy, spicy characters. Look, the yeast you use can make a big difference as well. I think switching to a yeast with more expressive flavours, like a clean ale yeast for more crispness or more estery, sort of fruitier tones, could elevate the beer. Or heaven forbid, we actually use a lager yeast. But then again, these aren't particularly beginner friendly and you require definitely temperature control, especially up here in North Queensland. Well, enough jibber jabber. So, who's this kit for? It's perfect for someone who doesn't have access to a local home brew shop, who wants the convenience of getting 90% of the gear in one big box with that face of Thomas Cooper on it, rocking that sweet beard from the 1800s. And hey, it still beats socks and jocks as a gift. Brewing your own beer is way more fun than a pair of tidy-whities any day, right? Overall, the kit gets a pass. But I tell you what, only just. It has its flaws, and if you're okay with minor issues and the proprietary parts, it's not a bad deal at $99. But at 119 bucks, which is the regular price, I think they're taking the piss a bit, so you might want to shop around. Look, thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and if you disagree with me or think I've missed something, for heaven's sakes, put it in the comments below. I'm happy to take on your comments about what your thoughts on this kit are. Look, I'll see you on the next one. Until then, remember, life's too short to fight with less than optimal gear or to drink dodgy beers. Cheers. Oh yeah.